Hey to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, ChiroThin, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Winner's Edge, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 206 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your co-host, Luke Millette, and here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Sherri Mosley. If you want to know what it's like to get hit with a green book, stay tuned. Episode 206, Sherri Mosley coming in from the Atlanta area. Is it Columbus?
Columbus, Georgia. It's 90 miles south of Atlanta, actually.
Okay, so Georgia, and you guys are getting a lot of rain right now.
That is correct.
I'm a meteorologist, not just a podcaster.
There you go.
So, this is a real honor to have you on to the show today. I know we met each other out in Indiana, and we had a chance to sit there in the hallway watching the summer camp go, and we were just kind of chit-chatting, and I was like, hey, I would love to have you on our podcast, and I sent you an invitation, and here we are like 2 months later.
Truth. Complete and utter truth.
So as we roll into this episode, one of the things that we really like to do is have you tell your chiropractic story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor. And I know a snapshot of it because we were talking a little bit earlier about how you got into the profession. I think you said at 6 years old or something, you're like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So can we tell that story and a little bit about, what influenced you and where you are today?
Okay. Well, how I got into chiropractic was it was more organic than I didn't suffer a trauma or any accident or had a malady that no one could cure, and someone said chiropractic, try chiropractic. No, my dad went to chiropractic school when I was still a kid, and he would come home and practice his techniques on us, which was fun. And sometimes I would get to go to class with him, which was even more fun because I wasn't in school at the time. So, and if you know anything about, chiropractic school, when a kid comes and the parent is like, sure, you can adjust them. Everyone's like, yeah, let's adjust the kid. So I was adjusted by mostly everyone in his class, I would have to say, and I fell in love with it. I did, completely and utterly. And then from there, observing him in practice, and people would say, your dad is amazing. I was like, oh, that's great. I want to be amazing. And I would see how he would heal people. And I love the fact that now it's gone full circle and I get to heal people. And people will tell like my niece or nephew, man, your aunt is so cool. She helped me with this. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. So, yeah.
And I know that you didn't just jump into chiropractic. Chiropractic found you the way that you said at 6 years old. And now you've been practicing for 17 years. What is it like for you to actually have the opportunity to give love and serve within this beautiful profession?
Oh my goodness. I love it. I mean, when people say they go to work, I go to have fun. I go to hang out with the kids. I go to talk to the parents. I love that people listen to me, and then I love when someone comes in really hurting. I don't want to see them hurting, but I love when they come out in hurting. And even that day, they go out and like, oh my God, I'm just feeling so much better. Like tears. It's just that when that innate, I just love it. I love it. I love feeling, I don't mean like the power going out of my hands, but I do love feeling that when you adjust someone, I love the change that happens in their body.
So what are some things that make you unique or might separate you from other chiropractors in your area?
Well, I specialize in pregnant women and children. And that right there is the uniqueness of Columbus, Georgia. The other thing is I am the only Black female chiropractor in Columbus, Georgia. And Columbus is the third largest city in Georgia. So it's not like it's a small little town. Um, but that I love it. Even though I specialize in, as I said, pregnant women and children, I do see the whole demographic. But I love working with my kids, and I love seeing the babies that are just born. Like I do not have hospital privileges, but I will go visit my patient who's been born, and I get to see them and hold them. And if something moves or adjusts, then it's great.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear, a lot of people. When I first got into chiropractic, this is a real story. I would go out and I'd do screening events. And
Mm-hmm.
I went to this one specific one in Arlington Heights where I was working. And the doc that started my career, his cousin came out and did an event with me. And I was out there hustling. I'm like, new patient special. Let's get some people into the door. Let's save some lives. And I was like, yeah, we can even adjust babies at our office. Dr. Mike turns babies. And she's like, you can't tell people that you guys adjust babies. I'm like, hell if I can't. I'm like, Dr. Mike adjusts babies. And she goes, that scares people. I go, it scares me not to tell people that. So,
Exactly.
when people are like afraid of the truth, like that's a real story. She was like, I'm going to tell on you. I'm like, tell on me?
Dude.
I'm like, you're going to tell on me for telling people that Dr. Mike adjusts babies? Like, I was like beside myself, and I was almost ready to leave work that day because I'm working with somebody that's trying to like tell me not to help people. And I think that I was so incongruent with the messaging that I was trying to, go out there and help people with. And I just had to sit her to the side and say, hey, look, chiropractors adjust babies. Dr. Mike is like certified in this thing called Webster's. He turns babies inside of women's bellies and then they come out the right way. So I'm sorry if I said something that might have offended you, but people need to hear this stuff.
That's true.
So that's kind of that.
You know what? It's interesting when you have someone working in your office who doesn't believe or hasn't, I'm not going to say hasn't drank the Kool-Aid, but doesn't believe. And the greatest thing is when you make a believer out of them. Like, it is so amazing. Like, how much then it's almost like when, Jesus healed the blind man and he said, don't tell anybody. He's like, I got to tell everybody. And that's literally when you change that non-believer, like, I'm just here for a job to answer phones, into that believer. It's like, hold on. Not only am I here to answer phones, but you need to come. I need to call everybody because this is amazing. And I need to get this word out. Like, this is it. This is it.
And this was 11 years ago because I've been working in chiropractic for 11 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like year one. This is like when Jim Chester like entered year one of like working in chiropractic. I knew that chiropractic could help like pregnancies and babies because I didn't believe that Dr. Mike could turn baby. And like one night we were all having drinks. I'm like, this guy could turn babies.
Okay, so as the chiropractor, I will say we get rid of intrauterine constraint to where the heavy head can now go to the bottom and the baby turns on its own. But yeah, we turn the babies.
Well, you're telling us this story about Jesus healing the blind and being able to tell that story to more people. Why wouldn't you want to tell that story to more people? Something that fascinated me when we were in the hallway talking a couple months ago, you said that you met somebody that was related to Harvey Lillard a few years ago, and that you actually heard the real story of this miracle adjustment that started the profession of chiropractic as we know it today. So if you could share that, I think so many people are going to be excited to hear this segment.
Oh, most definitely. It was more than a few years ago, but my father, as I said, he went to school when we were young. And so when Dr. Bobby Westbrook started the American Black Chiropractic Association, he invited the students from other chiropractic schools to come and participate. One year at the convention that he invited Harvey Lillard's granddaughter to come. And his granddaughter told the story that Harvey Lillard had told her how this adjustment had started. And so when, of course, as I told you before, we traveled with my dad. So I can remember her telling the story of Harvey Lillard, who owned the janitorial business and maintained this building, was actually friends with Dr. Palmer. And one night after checking the building, he went into his office and they were talking. And Dr. Palmer had a book in his hand. And as they're talking, Harvey Lillard tells a funny story. And you know how when you tell a funny story, you want to pat someone on the back and be like, oh my God, that's so funny. But as I said, Dr. Palmer had a book in his hand. And when he went to hit Harvey Lillard to be like, oh, that's so funny, the book hit his head and his shoulder and neck. And it was just like, in his, me, it's like, I'm so sorry, Harvey, I'm so sorry. And he's like, no problem. But when Harvey Lillard left, he started hearing stuff in that ear. He hadn't heard in that ear for years. And he started getting little things like buzzing and sounds in that ear. And it was like, whoa, what's going on? So a couple of days later, he came back and he's like, hey, Dee Dee, when you hit me with that book, and, Dr. Palmer was like, I'm sorry. He's like, no, I want to tell you what happened. He's like, I started to hear stuff in this ear. He's like, tells him how he hasn't heard in that ear for years. He was lifting something and he felt something and heard it pop, and he hadn't heard anything in that ear for years. And so Dr. Palmer's like, you know what? Well, let's try some things. And Harvey was like, I have nothing to lose. Like, I couldn't hear anything. Now I'm hearing a little bit. Why not? And being the scientist that Dr. Palmer was, that's when, he played around with him. Like, okay, so let's play around with your neck. Let's play around with your back. Let's see what happens. And following that, Harvey Lillard could hear. As I said, the interesting thing for me is that was the story I grew up on. And when I went to chiropractic school and heard the other version, I was like, hold on, that doesn't even make sense. Why would someone go to a magnetic healer or someone who's, this is who to be like, hey, I can't hear. Can you put something, adjust me? Like now, yes, because that's how chiropractic started. I've had people come to me like, I can't hear. Can you adjust me and make me hear? And I'm like, okay, well, let's see what's going on and let's figure out. I'm not saying I can. I don't know. But yes, that is how chiropractic started. Have you not heard your whole life? But to walk into the office and that's the first thing you said, I was like, that just sounds a little crazy. It's more believable what his granddaughter had said and what I had heard my, whole life from chiropractic way is that's how it started and that's how it happened.
Must have hit him with a green book.
Man, he must have. I mean, that right there, shoot, that could hurt. But that area is so.
So what are some mantras that you live your life by, or maybe what are some of your favorite motivational quotes that keep you inspired?
One, be intentional. That's a big thing. I know what you want to achieve and know everything you do affects that. So be intentional. The other one is don't wait until you're confident to show up. Show up and be confident. So, fake it till you make it, but be confident. No one has to know where you're at. So
those are good ones. So how would the world change if everyone started getting adjusted and seeing chiropractors regularly?
I absolutely love this question. Other than the fact that we wouldn't have this pandemic because everybody's body would be working at its optimal condition. So therefore, their immune system would be up. And so at no point would the bugs be able to come in and be like, hey, this is what we're having. We're going to take over. Let's say that. But then also, I know when you're in pain and your body is not working at its optimal condition, you have a low tolerance for foolishness. Like, literally, I can tell when I need to be adjusted because my nieces or nephews with things that made me laugh before are now making me irritated. So I'm like, okay, I need to be adjusted. My body needs to work at its optimal condition so that I can think it through and not react. And I think it would make us, even as a people, more tolerant, because we would all be like, you know what, let me think about that. You know what, it's not worth it. It's not worth it for me to react to this because I'm not in pain. My body is working perfectly. So therefore, it doesn't have to be all about me, because just like how, babies, they cry when they want something because there's no other way to communicate. And I feel sometimes that's how we are when we're in pain. We're like, it's about me, please pay attention to me. And that's not how it would be, because everyone would be adjusted and everybody's body would be working at its optimal condition.
I believe what you say, and I think that when people are adjusted, they have a better quality of life. And I think that what happened over time is chiropractic got packaged and sold as to, if you are feeling bad, go see them, rather than you should go get a chiropractic visit, whether you're feeling good or bad, just so you function properly.
Exactly.
And I think as things happened over time, it became sensational to market chiropractors as the savior for people in pain, the savior for people in symptoms. And it got out of balance with actually what chiropractors perform, which is a better quality of life practice. And I think that when you're talking about that attitudinally, yeah, people suck when they're in pain. And when you talk about like symptomatology of people like having a headache or not feeling good, yeah, they're going to be crummy to be around. And they are going to have a case of the eyes and knees. Like, hey, help me. I'm in trouble. Help me. I need something. And then they're going to say, hey, you're going to help me and perform that Harvey Lillard adjustment on my symptom and make me better in 1 to 2 visits. And I think that that's where we have to like really mature the message of chiropractic to where it's not just, chiropractors are going to get you out of the mess that you're in because you don't feel good, which chiropractic, like you said, you get a chance to put an adjustment on somebody and they leave and it's like tears. But it's also something that we need to re-educate people at, as say, hey, the stronger the host and the stronger the body, the less susceptible you'll be to being, invaded by some outside bug that, I don't know. I do believe that people are getting some type of like illness, but people get illness just, walking across the street. So, I mean, it's not so much that we need to shut down the world for something right now, but if people were getting consistent care, we wouldn't have the same type of mismanagement of our control of our health.
I believe that's true.
My 25 cents on that topic.
I think it was worth 50, but you're good. There's more, a whole lot more.
So where do you see chiropractic going in the next 20 years?
I see it as literally, because of where we are now, and because people are realizing that medication is not the be all end all for your life and for your body and for your system. I literally see it like if you were to meet someone on the street that had not been to a dentist, you would be like, oh my God, you haven't been to a dentist? And that's how it will be 20 years from now. Wait, you haven't seen a chiropractor? That's just crazy. That will be part of your routine. I go to see, my dentist, my chiropractor. It'll be on the list of things you have to do. It's just part of what you do because it makes sense to your body and who you are.
Absolutely. And, that's why 11 years ago, specifically about 5 years ago, when I said, Luke, hey, we need to make a documentary on chiropractic, I really wanted to start pushing the message and the agenda of chiropractic, because I'm like, hey, the chiropractic wave is just about to start flowing, and we're going to be riding that bad boy, and we're going to be riding that wave like a surfer into like the new era where people are going to say, I want chiropractic, not because of this, but because of this. And I think that that's where we have to get to the point of marketing it into an idea of freedom of choice, of a better quality of life long term. And just because, here's the thing, just because somebody has a gym membership doesn't mean they're going to the gym. Just because there's a natural grocer down the street that serves up, organic food doesn't mean that they're eating there. So I think people have to just understand that there's choices in this world moving forward. And chiropractic, those that choose chiropractic will have a better outcome with better quality of life. And eventually that will become you heard it through the grapevine message. And people are going to be like, oh, wow, I go see the chiropractor and it just keeps my immune system healthy. And that won't be taboo to share. And then they'll say, yeah, I go to the chiropractor because it makes my kids' nervous system better and they can study better and they sleep better and our quality of life's better. And I think that that's where we're going is human potential and quality of life rather than symptoms and sickness.
Yes.
So who are some of your heroes? And if you had to pick one person to have lunch with for an hour, who would it be?
Okay. My heroes are my dad, but also my mother. My mother is amazing. She truly is. She dealt with, adversity. She grew up in the Deep South. So that there was in the 50s. But she also stayed at home and took care of us kids, was a stay-at-home mother. But then she opened her home up to foster children. She was an emergency shelter home. She had an emergency shelter home. So she raised not just us, but so many other children called her mother. And then when we all left and went to school, she didn't say, oh, I'm here by myself. She then went back to school and became a kids counselor. Like, she counsels kids. Like, it's amazing. She's just, my hero. Like that, if I could be half the woman she is, I would be doing so much. Like, literally, she advocates for them. She, the program she was working with was called Children in Need of Services. And she was their last resort. She would go into the school and they would be like, oh, thank God, Miss Mosley's here. Like, she's going to help us. And that's what she would do. She would work it out. I would love that.
That's so beautiful. That's like the hero aspect of moms. My mom's actually my hero too. And, like when we think about like, we could put people on, a pedestal of saying, this is my hero. And it's, when I was a kid, it was Bo Jackson and Pele. Oh. And I wanted to be like Bo because the marketing, damn it. And, like I wanted to be like Pele because he was marketed. And that's why I think as we move forward with chiropractic, I want to be like Chiropractic because we're going to market it. But I think that those are our heroes. And if we do a good job, the hero lives in our heart. And that's the people that we cherish. And that's your mom, your dad, and that's my mother as well. But we also have this memory that when we're growing up, you watch people, now I don't watch TV, but when you would watch like people on TV, like Olympians, or like Michael Jordan, or like somebody that was like, doing a really good job, like Andre Dawson, or, I'm a huge Cubs fan. I grew up in a Cubs house. So when I think about like sports, like those were typical heroes. And when you ask kids like in like grade school, like, what are you going to do when you grow up? Policeman, fireman, astronaut. Like, those were like kids' heroes. So like, I think it's really cool when people can actually share that their heroes, their mother and their father, because I think it's so important.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was thinking about it and I was like, nah, those people, the ones that raised me, they did an amazing job. I love them and they're my heroes. Who I would like to sit with for an hour. I sat on that for a while, and for me, it would be Susan DePass. She started out as the secretary at Motown. And I noticed her name when I was a kid because every show that I watched that I liked, she was executive producer. And to start from as the secretary of Motown to then she's the executive producer. I think she also owns Radio One now. She's amazing. I've always thought she was amazing. I can remember saying I would love to meet her when I was 12, and I had thought, like, hey, I'm putting that out. I put that in the universe. Writing it down. I want to meet her. I want to meet Susan DePass. I'd love to talk to her. I'd love to see what she's thinking about in her head. Like, I'd love to sit down and talk with her. So.
made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Chirothin, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Winner's Edge, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle. That's really cool. How do you spell her name?
Susan, of course, Depasse is the last name.
Cool. I'll look her up. I think that's really cool. That's a really inspirational find. And I think that we all have those type of people that, would enlighten us and give us more life. So that's really cool. I'm going to look up Susan Depasse. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about how marketing works. Mm-hmm. And I know that that's a big conversation usually in the chiropractic world, because chiropractors, like I've said, they'll put their pictures on bus stops. They'll put their pictures on anything, shopping carts, just to try to get some new patients. So maybe you can share with our audience some things that you've tried over your career that did not work. And then maybe you can share with our audience some things that you have done and that have been really effective for you.
The main thing I would say that did not work and does not work is television. It is the price point that you would need to flood the airways with. It's not there. You don't get the return for it. However, it's like you don't get that patient walking in saying, I saw you on TV. However, when you go out into the community and they're like, wait, I saw you on TV, and they'll stop and talk to you, and they'll just be like, you know what? I had this going on and I was wondering if you could help. And you're like, okay, yeah. So I guess it does work, but you need that connection with the individual. I find that the best marketing is when you connect with the individual, because with chiropractic and I would say definitely with chiropractic, you're selling yourself. It's about my patients come to see me because I'm their doctor. They love to see me. It's not about I want that adjustment, because they would go somewhere else for a cheaper adjustment or a different adjustment. It's about the relationship that I've developed with my patient, with the individual, the connection I've made, the word of mouth that they've heard from someone else that, oh, Dr. Mosley, you need to go see her. And then they'll come to me and say, I've heard about you. I'm here because I've heard about you. I like that one-on-one connection, but in this world, it's not difficult. You can do it. I do that. But I also, Facebook, by way of just putting it out there, or Instagram, that's more viable than just regular TV, the social media aspect. But just being out there with people, going to schools and volunteering. And I've also gone to the base and volunteered. We have I'm lucky to be in Columbus, Georgia, which hosts Fort Benning, which is the largest infantry base in the world. And I've done talks on the base about how chiropractic can help pregnancy to the pregnant soldiers. So I love it.
I love that too. And I think that relationship capital is so important. And when people talk about, become known, become liked, become trusted, that's chiropractic all day. That's the playbook. And I think that what you're saying is getting out to your community and, meeting people where they are is important. And then, connecting with people on that emotional level of, hey, this is what I do. I know that I can potentially help you, and, connecting the dots of people, because I think that's just vital. It's vital to growing a practice. I tell everybody that they should be first 2 years, they should be jumping in every young professionals network group that they can get in. They should be doing every BNI, every LATIP, every leads group that they can jump into, and start crafting their skills of knowing how to tell their story, why they do what they do, who they help, and then give an offer. And I think that if chiropractors learn that simple skill set, like what you do on base, like, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how I can help you, come see me. If chiropractors did that 20 times a month, they'd never worry about business growth.
Not at all. And then also, as I said, my dad was a chiropractor. So when he moved here, he would, before work, go knock on doors, and then after work, go knock on doors. Like, what would you, he would have this whole feel, how would you feel about going to see a doctor if they didn't give you a medication or a shot? You're like, well, that would be cool. Well, you should come see me. Like, oh my God. He was pretty amazing, I just have to say.
So with everything about marketing, with what worked and what didn't work and things your family has tried, what are your three biggest tips that you would tell another chiropractor who needs advice?
One, don't be afraid to fail. Like, literally, even in failing, you succeed. So get out there, meet people, and also I would say to just do. I know it all sounds like the exact same thing, but it's literally, you have to do it. You can't be afraid. You got to be confident, be intentional, get out there, meet the people, and show them that what you're bringing is what they need.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. And one of the things that you mentioned in the past couple questions that we asked you, you said you go into social and you've realized that social media, Facebook and Instagram were effective for you. And I think that there's a huge paradigm shift because what you said didn't work was television. And I think that people are changing their attention to the TV, to the cell phone. And I think that the cell phone with apps and scrolling and Facebook and Instagram are definitely taking the market share from the television. And what's going to become eventual is that the apps and the technology on the phone are going to supersede anything that's happening on that TV. So those people that are running those networks, they're running scared right now to build relationships with people that are like in the control of social media, because they realize that even though that numbers might be up right now, especially during this election time, that people are actually watching more television. Eventually they're ruining sports. Eventually people are going to quit watching because, the numbers are down and they're just ruining sports. So, when we think about like longevity for like platforms, yeah, people are going to pay attention to what they get attention back from. So when I post, hey, I'm interviewing you, like that gives you attention. It gives me attention. It's what I want to pay attention to. And I don't care because whatever they're doing over there, I don't know them. There's no direct connection with me. There's no like, hey, Jim Chester, we're going to make this message for you today. No, it's you that's making a direct message for me today. So you're on the platform that I'm paying attention to. So that's why your patients and prospective patients are paying attention to this thing. And that thing is going to be where you are eventually able to use that to leverage and to figure out how, okay, well, let's make a little bit of an ad. Let's see how we can tell people who we are, how we can help them, and why we exist. And then that's going to connect with people. So I think you're spot on. People throw their money away if they think that they're going to advertise on TV and it's going to make their careers. But really, it's relationship capital. And I think that if people just do it, like you said, like Nike, they're going to realize that their life gets a whole lot better and that they're able to actually use their marketing dollars that actually grow their business. And you got to go where people are. And it costs too much to get on those network television channels. So go to Facebook and Instagram. And it's interesting that I tell people to do this, but I haven't met anybody that's done it that hasn't grown their business. So I just I like to connect the dots from what you said to what Luke's asking.
It's also like, you're like, okay, well, prove me wrong. Do this for a month, and if it doesn't work, I'll give you, let's say, $1,000. Like, I'm gonna prove you wrong, Jim. Wait, it worked. Oh, okay.
So, what's some advice that you would give to a new chiropractic student? And should they also pick their college based on location?
Learn everything you can from whomever you can. I have not met a chiropractor that if you called them and said, "Hi, my name is Sherri and I am a chiropractic student. I would love to know how you do such and such," they would take the time and talk to you. Because our profession, we love the fact that you're joining us. Like, yes, we've gotten another one. We've gotten a convert. And if they couldn't talk to you right then, they'll make an appointment to talk to you later. They will figure it out, and they're willing to teach. And while you're in school, everyone is willing to take the time to help to teach you stuff, to teach you what they know. Because we know once you get out, the cool thing about chiropractic is once you pass your board, you're a chiropractor full-fledged. You don't need to put years in, but also it's like you know everything once you become a chiropractor. You're like, oh, I know it all. I'm not a student. I know. I took those boards. And it's sometimes hard to teach that chiropractor something new as opposed to a student you're willing to learn. So take the time and approach the chiropractor. Learn anyone. If you've heard of someone, call them, write them a letter. Say, hey, I've heard of you. I would love to get your advice. They'll take the time and talk to you. That's just the cool thing about chiropractic.
And then should they pick schools based on geographic location?
So, as someone who left Georgia and went to Minnesota, I don't think that should be the part of why you're choosing a school, part of geographic location at all. As you know, when you choose an undergrad, you're choosing because of the major you want to go to. And the thing about chiropractic is everyone's teaching chiropractic. We all have to take the same boards. However, that philosophy is different when you go to different schools. And sometimes you can enter chiropractic knowing that philosophy that you already believe, but then there's other times when you just get the one that is taught at that school, or the technique that's taught at that school, or the one that's pushed down that everyone's doing, and we're like, this is what you have to do because this is the school we're at. Or the reason I went to Northwestern is because, yes, I'm a daddy's girl, and that's where my father went. So it had, and I get that's the medical chiropractic school a lot when people are like, wait, you went to Northwestern? I'm like, yes. I love my school. I love my experience. But just like I learned all I could learn. In my bag of techniques, I know every body individual is different. So if something works on patient A, it might not work on patient B. So I need to sometimes change up and use what works on patient B. And I'm glad I know something different.
Yeah, I appreciate the honesty in the answer. I think that so many people that I talk to, they're like, well, if it's not philosophically sound, and if it's not like teaching people like, the old school straight chiropractic methods, then it's not a chiropractic school I'm going to send students to, or I'm not going to recommend people to go to that school. But I do think that, a lot of times it's individually based. And, and when you're going for a degree, like, I think that you have to go to what I've learned, unfortunately, or fortunately, is that wherever you have the less default rate on student loans, wherever you have the highest board score passing, those are attractive things. And like you said, the things that you don't learn in those school settings, you can go to technique clubs. You can go and shadow masters. And I think that we need to get more students out going to chiropractic school that graduate and pass their boards and don't default on their loans. And then chiropractic grows exponentially because then the people that are funding chiropractic, which is the loan companies, they trust chiropractors. And the people that are becoming chiropractors, they pass the boards and they become successful. And I think that that's where we have to push the education towards. And that's why that question matters so much, because that's something a lot of people don't think about. They're like, well, just go to that school because they do it this way. Well, hold on now. Let's go to make sure that the chiropractors that are going to school are successful and they come out and they're successful and they can have proficiency. And I always thought it was kind of sucky when I would hear like, there's making kids go to school to like learn how to pass tests. Well, that's so important. Like, unfortunately, that's one of the most important things about becoming successful, because if you can't pass the test, you can't practice. And as I got to learn more and more about chiropractic as a profession, the default rate's up and people aren't becoming successful. And I do think that it is the responsibility of like people that have been practicing 20 years plus to mentor young chiropractors, like what your mom did for foster kids. I think that chiropractors need to foster young talent, and they need to like bring people on and not associate them and take their skill sets and abuse or use them, but nurture them and get them ready for success, because that's really what's going to perpetuate the future of the practitioners. And they will learn that philosophy with your tutelage, and they will learn those techniques with your tutelage. And I just think that these topics are really important for people to hear, because these are things that people don't talk about. Like when you go to like your networking group with chiropractors, people don't want to talk about these topics. They just want to say, hey, I went to this school and look at my practice and check out my benzo. And that's like what people talk about when they like become successful. But I do think that we have to nurture people with good knowledge, and that the people that listen to this episode specifically, they're going to be like, wow, that was really powerful. And I'm glad that she shared what she did. And I'm glad that Jim shared what he did. And I'm glad Luke asked that question, because it's full circle. And I think as we go forward, people are going to eventually realize that it's not about the location of geography. It's going to be about the success of the person getting out of school and become successful. Because, the real problem is that when somebody goes to 7 years of school and they default on their loans and they don't become successful within the first 5 years of practice because it's 30% fail rate, you know what happens now? Now that whole family that was championing on that chiropractor lost a soldier. And like you said, when somebody comes in, they're like, hey, I want to mentor with you. If we don't like rise them up, then we lose a soldier in the game of moving forward with chiropractic. And that family loses faith in chiropractic too. And then we leave a void in that community for somebody that's not taking care of people. So I think that when we think about like the GDP of chiropractic, that's the person that goes to school, the education that they get, and the success that they ride onto after 5 years of practice. And that's really what we need to be paying attention to as a chiropractic business model, is making sure that they pass, they get technique, they have mentorship, and they don't default on those loans, they pass the damn boards.
Because it's been so long since I've been in school, I can only talk to when I was in school. The marketing, that they don't teach, or like what you have to do when you get out of school. That it was a class, but I think it should be integrated probably from year one, but after you're in. Like, because this is, unlike when you go to medical school, you're going to go to a hospital. Usually you're going to either be an associate or you're going to have your own practice. So it should be part of the conversation, the marketing. Like, yes, you can't just open your door and wish and hope people are going to walk in and they're like, hey, I saw you had a sign that said open. Can I have an adjustment? No, that is not what happens. So the truth of chiropractic, I don't know. I think that should be part of the curriculum. I don't know if it is. It's been 17 years. So It might be now.
Well, I hope to teach all of them how to start podcasts one day.
There you go. That's a good one.
So let's talk about you personally a little bit. What kind of books do you like? What kind of other podcasts do you listen to? What are some of your hobbies?
Right now I'm reading Essentialism by Greg McKeown. How to, I guess, basically weedle out the stuff that's not important. Again, that goes with my be intentional aspect. Some of the podcasts I like, well, since I started watching Chiro Hustle, yay, I like you guys. But also there's another one called Here's the Thing. And it picks out, I don't watch a lot of TV. And I'm saying I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't really watch TV. So it picks out things that happened that week and it comments on it or brings it out. And usually they're thinking around the same thing I'm thinking. And I'm loving that. I didn't have to watch and do the research on it. So I love that. Let's see. Most of my hobbies involve using my hands. I sew a lot. I do a lot of craft things. I bake. Okay, you probably will not believe this, Jim, definitely, because you met me at a time, and I was very, very, very shy when I was a kid. I still consider myself that, but I'm not, no one believes it. So my mom put me in a cake decorating class with adults when I was 12. So I'm a certified cake decorator. Like, I take it all the classes. I can do a wedding cake. Like, so I do still do that, for friends. I do cakes. As I said, if it involves using my hands, I'm gonna do it. I like singing. I do that. But yeah, most of my hobbies is some kind of crafty, whatever.
Well, I'll let you keep singing because nobody wants to hear me.
You gotta do it in the shower. Those acoustics are amazing.
So where can people go if they want to learn more about you and what you're doing?
If you want to learn more about me and what I'm doing, MosleyChiropractic.com is our website. But also, I'm on Instagram, ChiroLady1, and that comes from chiropractor. But I'm also a Southern lady, and I was the first Black chiropractor here, so that's why it's Chiro Lady. And Facebook is just my name, Sherri Mosley.
Well, Sherri, it's been a lot of fun having you on our show today. Is there anything that we didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
No, I can't think of anything. I think I talked a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun having you on today, and thank you for sharing your story and being so vulnerable and open to the questions that we had for you. And I love that your hero is your mom and dad.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me, Jim. I was about to call you James again. I know that's your name, but it's just in my head. It's like my brother and my dad's name, so I just want to call everybody Jim and Luke. Like, as a you'll probably cut this, but as a I was thinking, do you like sci-fi stuff? I do like sci-fi stuff. No?
I do.
Do? Okay, so I was just like, the force is really with you, I can tell.
It is.
Well, thank you for the acknowledgement, and the force is with you as well, and you have some blazing piezoforms, I'm sure. All right, well, you have a good day.
Okay, you too.
May the force be with you always.
Always. And live long and prosper, both of them.
Well, we love you, and I'm sure you have some people lining up for you to adjust, so we'll let you get going, okay?
Okay, bye guys. Thank you.
For the rest of your day.
See you soon.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.